If you want to have a confident faith in the 21st century or an open mind to exploring faith, you have to come to terms with how to think about science and how it relates to faith. Now, as an award-winning scientist and inventor, MIT Professor Rosalind Picard does a great job with that issue here being interviewed by Lex Friedman. Now, let's check it out. I want to highlight a couple of things along the way.
Mm-hmm. And I've also heard you say that you said scientists too often assume that nothing exists beyond what can be currently measured.
Mm-hmm. Materialism and scientism. Yeah.
So in some sense, this assumption enables the near-term scientific method, assuming that we can uncover the mysteries of this world by the mechanisms of measurement that we currently have. But we easily forget that we've made this assumption. Right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think we miss out on by making that assumption? That
It's fine to limit the scientific method to things we can measure and reason about and reproduce. That's fine. I think we have to recognize that sometimes we scientists also believe in things that happen historically. Mm-hmm. You know, like I believe the Holocaust happened. I can't prove events from past history scientifically. You prove them with historical evidence. Right, with the impact they had on people, with eyewitness testimony and things like that. So a good thinker recognizes that science is one of many ways to get knowledge. It's not the only way. And there's been some really bad philosophy and bad thinking recently, you can call it scientism, where people say science is the only way to get to truth. And it's not. It just isn't. There are other ways that work also. Like knowledge of love with someone. You don't prove your love through science, right? So history, philosophy, love, a lot of other things in life show us that there's more ways to gain knowledge and truth, if you're willing to believe there is such a thing, and I believe there is, than science. I am a scientist, however, and in my science, I do limit my science to the things that the scientific method can do. But I recognize that it's myopic to say that that's all there is.
Well, this deserves to be nailed down really, really tight. One of the most freeing things that you can have in the modern world is we're very into science and we trust scientists and we trust science itself so much that usually we let it bleed over into areas that it probably doesn't belong. But it's this whole idea that science is not the only kind of knowledge and it's not the only way to get answers to things. And she gives great examples of history. There's philosophy. Logic itself predated science, just the laws of mental architecture, as it were, and how we follow them, the knowledge of love, relationships, all of these things. It's important to point that out, that there are different areas of knowledge that can get us to truths that we wouldn't be able to get through to science. Now she's going to go on to purpose.
Right, there's, just like you listed, there's all the why questions. And really, we know, if we're being honest with ourselves, the percent of what we really know is basically zero relative to the full mystery of the
measure theory, the set of measure zero. If I have a finite amount of knowledge, which I do.
So you said that you believe in truth. So let me ask that old question. What do you think this thing is all about? It's life on Earth?
Life, the universe, and everything. I
everything. What's the meaning?
I can't quote Douglas Adams, 42. It's my favorite number. By the way, that's my street address. My husband and I guessed the exact same number for our house. We got to pick it. Okay. And there's a reason we picked 42. Yeah.
So is it just 42, or do you have other words that you can put around it?
Well, I think there's a grand adventure, and I think this life is a part of it. I think there's a lot more to it than meets the eye and the heart and the mind and the soul here. I think we see but through a glass dimly in this life. We see only a part of all there is to know. If people haven't read the Bible, they should, if they consider themselves educated. And you could read Proverbs and find tremendous wisdom in there that cannot be scientifically proven, but when you read it, there's something in you, like a musician knows when the instrument's played right and it's beautiful. There's something in you that comes alive and knows that there's a truth there that It's like your strings are being plucked by the master instead of by me, right? Playing when I pluck it. But probably when you play, it sounds spectacular, right?
Well, and I love the question on what do you think this is all about, and the reference to Hitchhiker's Guide with the 42, that is the answer and all that sort of thing. But in the end, I love the comment that she made. If you consider yourself educated, you ought at least look at the Bible and be familiar with it. That's very, very important. And something I would add, because I love her line, life is a great adventure, and it's this adventure that has mystery to it and everything else. I would kind of sum that up by saying what the Bible presents us as is life is about story. We think in terms of story, and the worldview given by the Bible is that life in the overall is a story that's being played out and has another volume coming and all the rest, and that we get to play a part in that story, and that gives us meaning in life. And you can pick up these things through the limits of science on one hand, but on through philosophy and theology and interaction with the Bible. And so you don't want to deprive yourself of that. So I love her open-mindedness. I love her relationship with a very, very solid scientist. She's pretty amazing. She's very involved in AI and is exploring, can AI be taught to detect emotion and even show emotion, which is kind of spooky, but she's into that whole world. You can tell it kind of expands her view out. And then she hits one more thing when it comes to science that I want to lock down here in just a moment and give you a parting shot, a great quote from a famous scientist.
And when you encounter those truths, there's something in you that sings and knows that there is more than what I can prove mathematically or program a computer to do. Don't get me wrong, the math is gorgeous. The computer programming can be brilliant. It's inspiring, right? We want to do more. None of this squashes my desire to do science or to get knowledge through science. I'm not dissing the science at all. I grow even more in awe of what the science can do because I'm more in awe of all there is we don't know. And really at the heart of science, you have to have a belief that there's truth, that there's something greater to be discovered. And some scientists may not want to use the faith word, but it's faith that drives us to do science. It's faith that there is truth, that there's something to know that we don't know, that it's worth knowing, that it's worth working hard, and that there is meaning, that there is such a thing as meaning, which, by the way, science can't prove either. We have to kind of start with some assumptions that there's things like truth and meaning. And these are really questions philosophers own, right? This is their space, philosophers and theologians at some level. So these are things science, when people claim that science will tell you all truth, there's a name for that. It's its own kind of faith. It's scientism, and it's very myopic.
No, I love the balance that she's affirming science. I mean, if you can really understand what a Christ-centered worldview is really looking at, we can go after science big time. There's no reason to back off because most of the original pioneers of science were Christian people. They didn't see a conflict there. That one of the reasons they had that faith to go after what we know of as science is they did believe that the universe had rationality that they would find no matter what they looked at. They were trying to discover the mind of God in and through what they were doing. And affirming that, you can, as a Christian, you can look into scientific data all you want. You can explore the world. You can explore the interactions of the physical world because that's what science is about. And to lock down that idea, I wanted to pass on this. Francis Bacon is considered to be the one who was the founder, as it were, of what we know of as the scientific method. And if you'll go to he has a book out called the Essays of Francis Bacon, and he says this: I had rather believe all the fables of the legend, of the Talmud, of the Quran, than that this universal frame is without a mind. So his outlook, the one who gave us the scientific method, he believed fundamentally that the universe had been put together by a mind. He goes on to say this: it is true that a little philosophy inclines man man's mind to atheism, but depth in philosophy brings men's minds about to religion. So let's walk confidently in the world and really enjoy scientific discovery. And when it seems to be at odds with what the Christ-centered worldview is, just hang in there. Science is oftentimes a moving target, but enjoy what it brings, but also enjoy the fact that there are other fields of knowledge that you and I can explore. I hope that helps. And if you haven't ever subscribed, please do that. Hit like, and it helps us out, and we'll continue to deliver content to you. Thanks.